economic transformation.
Health, entertainment, updates in education, on the farm. Keep tuned into UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Your favorite national, accurate, balanced, concise and comprehensive newscast. News Hour at 1 p.m. from Monday to Friday. Right here on UBC Radios. UBC, inspiring Uganda. News Hour Weekend Edition. News Hour Weekend Edition airs every Saturday from 8 to 9 p.m. featuring top stories of the week. Make a date with UBC Radio as we bring you the weekly news roundup.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda. Tune in to Ground Zero on UBC Radio. We discuss politics.
The money we collect as taxes in the country, we lose it in corruption.
Economics.
The four economic sectors where their jobs and wealth are: commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT.
Education.
The classes which will not need an abridged curriculum are the entry-level classes of P1, Senior 1, and Senior 5.
Culture and religion. And other areas of human interest. Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio. Don't miss.
It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Welcome to Ground Zero Season 2, a show that brings you in-depth discussion ranging from politics, health, finance, sports, and so much more. Ground Zero Season 2.
Hello dear listener, you're most welcome to UBC Ground Zero. We are broadcasting live on 4 radio stations covering entire Uganda. We are live on UBC Red. If in Kampala, we are 98 FM. And if you are in Arua, we are 97.4 FM. If you are in Lida, we are 99.4 FM. If you are in Butebo, we are connected to another important radio there, or UBC Butebo, If you're in Bale, we are 96.9 FM, 98.4 FM if you're in Soroti, and 95.5 FM if you're in Arua. We are also live and clear on Western Nile FM on 98 FM. That is Western Nile, Teso sub-region, Lango, Choli, and Karamoja regions. And we're also live and clear on UBC Match 100 FM if you are in central parts of this country. We're also live and clear on UBC covering into Uganda border to border and city to city. We are here to transform, to educate, and inspire you, the people of Uganda. Mpaire Amon Butega is my name, and those are the radio stations that we are live right now on UBC Ground Zero. And we are glad that you are tuning in and listening in wherever you are. And those who are online, you cannot have access to your radio. We also streaming live on YouTube. You just enter UBC. You just enter UBC Ground Zero on YouTube, and you'll be part of the conversation. Remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll be glad to have you to have joined our conversation. For those who would love to contribute to our discussion, we are going to discuss radio and peace. This is the international theme for World Radio Day, and most of you know that we always celebrate Radio Day on 13th February every year. This was following the request from the Spanish Radio Academy on 20th September 2010, where the Spain proposed that UNESCO Executive Board include the agenda item on the proclamation of a Radio Day. And indeed, this board took it as a serious agenda and project, and we see it being introduced on 29th September 2011. And since then, we've been celebrating the impact of radio in as far as creating and changing lives of the people in the world. And Uganda are not sparing ourselves from this very important celebration. We decided as a national and your public broadcaster to take up this international theme, World and Peace. And we are going to be looking at how the radio has really done a very good job in changing society, in transforming society, in educating, inspiring, and transforming the people of Uganda, the people of East Africa and Africa at large. We're going to look at a number of issues on how radio turns into a channel that brings into various things, including conflict in society, but how best this channel can as well be used to promote peace. I am glad to have been joined by very, very interesting and good people that have served this country to their best. And I'm glad that they are also going to help us educate and inform the people of Uganda about this very important topic. And they are going to help us as well digest this topic, in that we can as well understand and know why we are supposed to celebrate the radio. As I said, we are discussing the Radio and Peace Day, and in the studios of UBC, it is a big privilege and honor to have Medi Kagwa is the head of multimedia and content coming from Uganda Communications Commission. I think this is the very second time we are having you, Medi. Most welcome.
Thank you, Amon, and good morning, listeners.
All right. We also have a privilege to have Julius Msime is the president Rural Broadcasters Association, and last time we had you online, and we're glad to have made it possible to come to our studios of UBC. Most welcome to Msime.
Thank you very much. Good morning, listeners.
Most welcome, and we're going to later on to be joined by other panelists that will join us later on. We are having police joining us, and we see, because when we talk about peace, we cannot forget the Uganda police, and also we're going to look at UBC as a national and public broadcaster. We're going to see how important is radio in our lives, in our communities, in our country, and in our region. And of course, a number of issues have come up. We have seen genocide in Rwanda, and we have seen 2007 riots in Kenya to have been brought up by the the information that's saturated on different media houses, including radio. So radio, we believe that it is another channel that really can spread bad politics, bad information, and bad content. We're going to see how also this radio turns into a good channel to communicate to the people of Uganda. A very warm welcome, Senior Superintendent of Police, Donald Muhwezi, is coming from Community Policing Department. Most welcome to UBC Ground Zero again.
Thank you. Good morning to the listeners. I am excited to be here on this day. I'm sorry I arrived a bit late because of the jam, but all the same I'm here.
Yeah, I think jam also creates some conflicts, and we need really to use this radio to promote peace in that we can have peace when we are traveling. A privilege and honor to have Mike Fupa is coming from UBC, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. Most welcome to UBC Ground Zero.
And good morning to the listener outside there. I'm also grateful to be here with my colleagues, the panelists, whom we are going to discuss issues of radio and peace. I welcome you all. Thank you so much.
Interesting. This is UBC Ground Zero. I said we're going to discuss peace, radio and peace. We're going to look at how we can really promote peace using this radio as a media house. And also, in case you want to be part of the conversation, you will reach us on 776-511-426, but that would be in the second hour. And in case you want to send your message, you can use 0701-24-26-47. Ampaire Amanutega is my name, and this is UBC Ground Zero. Let me start with you, Kagwa. Would love to know what you do, actually all of you, what you do in your respective institutions. How best are you serving the people of Uganda? How have we benefited from you, from your services, and what should be expected of you in as far as your institutions, offices, and you as individuals are concerned? Medikagwa.
Thank you, Amon. Good morning, listeners, once again. My name is Medi Kagwa. I work with an organization called Uganda Communications Commission. Uganda Communications Commission is a regulator of communication services in Uganda. Regulation of communication services has many things, but here among them, if I mention a few, we monitor, inspect, license, supervise, control, and regulate communication services. And these communication services are defined as any service that is used for communication and includes telecommunications, data communications, radio communications, postal communications, and broadcasting. We also regulate any content that is shared on electronic platforms. The Uganda Communications Act of 2013 gives us mandate to set standards, monitor, and enforce compliance relating to content. The same act also mandates the Commission to receive, investigate, and arbitrate complaints relating to communication services, and most importantly, take necessary action. We also promote and safeguard the interests of consumers and operators as regards the quality of communication services and equipment. Therefore, the Uganda Communications Commission is very critical in the topic today of radio and peace, because radio is in Uganda, radio covers 99% of the geographical spread of Uganda. As such, it is one of the key mediums through which information gets down to the ordinary person or the ordinary citizen. You will notice that in Uganda we have over 64 local indigenous languages. So it is important that the same message is not lost in translation as we move across those languages. One of the roles of the Commission is we license these radio stations, and when we license them, we give them terms and conditions upon which they are able to operate professionally and serve the interests of the ordinary citizens. These license terms and conditions involve the minimum broadcasting standards, where we expect content not to promote insecurity where we expect content, not to be contrary to public morality, not to promote a culture of violence or ethnic prejudice, to protect the children and the youth, not to distort facts, and also to make sure that these programs are balanced to ensure harmony, such that if you get one party, you have to give all parties an opportunity to state their case, such that the listeners are able to make an informed decision. We also ensure that the programs are appropriately scheduled, such that people do not get offensive content earlier. But most importantly, these standards all require that if you're going to broadcast anything that relates to national security, let's make sure these contents are verified with the respective authorities, not to create alarm and panic in the public. So as UCC, the law gives us that mandate, and we believe that the developments in technology, especially the radio space, are very good for the theme today. Earlier in the village, most people are able to get to radio through FM. Midwave and shortwave is dying out. But I'm happy to know that now people can access the radios through their phones. You can also now be streaming off platforms like YouTube. So radio is a very key element in passing the right information to the public. Thank you, Amon.
Interesting. I'm glad that we're discussing this when we have the Rural Broadcasters Association representing, and most times when we talk about radio, we always concentrate in the urban-based ones. What is your perception? What did you do, and how best have you been involved in this? And what is your standard? Where do you start from, and where do you end?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I'm just very happy to be here with my regulator, UCC, and somebody who is keeping peace. As I already mentioned, my name is Julius Tumusime, and I'm a chairman, Rural Broadcasters Association. Rural Broadcasters Association, in short, is called RUBA. RUBA, we are members of Rural Broadcasters Association with representatives from 18 regions of Uganda. And these include West Nile, Acholi, Rango, Teso, Bugishu, Sebei, Bukedia, Busoga, Central, Bunyoro, Toro, Ankole, Chigezi, Karamoja, and other areas. Aruba as an association, actually it is one of the biggest associations in Uganda. We have over 180 members from all those mentioned regions. And the objectives are many, but just to make a summary, one of them is to represent our members' specific interest when it comes to issues to do like licensing, business challenges, and other opportunities. We soften the ground for the business access to members through information sharing. We have a center around Kampala here where we have the database. So whoever wants the information regarding radio up country, they come to us. So we also develop and provide local content to the programs in rural areas, especially those radios that are upcoming. We also ensure that good practices are done as per UCC requirement. So as a Rural Broadcasters Association, we have done so many, but I may not talk about those things we have done. Maybe when times allow, we shall. But basically, we are here to celebrate the World Radio Day. And our theme is peace and
radio.
All
right. Interesting. Afande Donald, when we talk about peace, then we cannot forget Uganda police. How do you come in as far as radio and peace is concerned, and how important has it been to use radio to promote community policing but also maintaining peace?
Thank you, Amon, and my colleagues in the studio. Like Amon introduced me, I am a police officer. I work with community policing department. Community policing is basically community and policing. They are two words that are known and easily understood by whoever is listening. The history of police and its formation was not good. Police was formed by the colonialists on the basis of forcing Ugandans then to plant coffee and cotton and put down those who were demonstrating. So it had a bad image and was not working in the interest of the people. Later on, the institution realized that the strategy had to change because communities and the police must have similar goals and objectives. So for police to be effective in the community, it must work with the people. When we get back to the theme, peace and the radio, peace is defined differently by different scholars. Those who want to expand it, they bring in the negative peace and positive peace. Whereas negative peace is the absence of violence and war and direct harm, positive peace covers both negative peace and a bigger well-being of the community, human rights support and promotion, economic equity, political fairness. Mention it. You may have no war, you may have no violence, you may have no direct attacks, but you are not at peace with your neighbors. You're not at peace with your husband or wife. So peace is wide. It comes from conflict. And conflict is as old as mankind. When we have no information, when we have different values, when we understand something differently, we are likely to be at conflict. So when it comes back to the radio, to my understanding, the role of radio and other communication channels, the most important one is to inform, is to educate, is to update the community. Whenever somebody is updated, whenever somebody is informed, educated, it reduces the knowledge gap, it reduces the conflict. It helps in resolving conflicts. It helps in building peace in societies. I'll give you the example of police. The Constitution gives us the mandate to protect life and property, to detect and prevent crime, to keep law and order, to cooperate with other security agencies and the population generally. But look at our numbers. How would the police officer be in the entire country in the short time? How would police sensitize and inform the community without using radios? Therefore, this brings us to the issue of the multiplier effect. Last time I was at a Rotary Club and I asked the members of the Rotary about the numbers of police, and everybody had a different number in their heads. Some thought we were in millions. And why? When I asked, he said, but we hear you everywhere. We see you on TV, we hear you on radio, you guard people, you are at a demonstration, you are in schools, you are everywhere. Why? Because there is a multiplier effect. There is a radio somewhere, there is a radio in the village, there is a radio in town, there is a radio in the car, there is a radio in someone's home that brings all our services closer to the people. I don't think we would have been effective, that is if we are effective anyway, without the radio. And I am excited that I've been invited on this day to bring my sincere happiness and acknowledgement of the role of radio in peace in this country.
Interesting. Thank you, Fandedon. Michael,
Yes,
your
ma'am.
representation, or you're representing the national and public broadcaster. How many radios are we looking at? How many are we celebrating? And what is your role in as far as promoting peace as a national broadcaster?
Thank I'm grateful to my brothers whom were in the studio. And I want to say that this is a very important theme, radio and peace. And as the UBC, I'm grateful. I just wanted to give a brief history how we come to be UBC, and probably how we come to have so many radio stations in our country. You find that the history tells us that there was an Italian man called Marconi. Is the one who started trying to play around with the gadgets to come up with radio. That was in towards the late 1890s. Then, of course, the services of other people like Fasende in America and others came in, and they came to build something, or this equipment which we call radio, that is having to get a voice from from point A to point B. However, in Uganda, after being colonized by the British in 1894, you find that these people had already radio in their countries. So in Uganda specifically, we start issues of radio around 1950s, and radio Uganda Broadcasting Services, as it was called in 1954, was created by the British or the colonialists, and their interest was, one, to be able to inform the foreigners who are here in Uganda. The other one was to help the diplomats or the colonial government pass on information, as my brother, the police officer, has said, for issues of development or trying to enforce the things that they wanted in Uganda, but also to a small extent issues of entertainment. However, Uganda, the development of radio in Uganda, we come to be called Radio Uganda after independence. That is in 1962. So it comes to Radio Uganda. Then we move on until 1990s, when the NRM government came in and it liberalized the airwaves. So as we talk now, I think my brother from UCC may have a better figure, but I know we are so many radio stations in Uganda, both in urban and also in rural places. I know we are over 150 or even up to 300. We will try to find out from there. However, our role as UBC, the broadcaster, as my friends have already mentioned, the prime objective is to inform the masses, to educate them, and to also a large extent to entertain them, because it is this radio that reaches the biggest population in our country or elsewhere in the world. Radio is the most accessible because it is more affordable, and as we talk now, almost everybody moves around with the radio. But in the 50s, the 60s, there were only just a few people. I remember in the 70s and 80s, if you wanted to get some information about the upheavals that were happening in Uganda, then you would collect at a center of one prominent person who had a radio, and you would listen to what is happening. And in most cases, I remember we used to listen to BBC, Focus on Africa. That's why they will tell you, those people are always on the spot to highlight where the problems are. But when things are okay, you will not get much from BBC. So it is where we would know how far the war has gone, who is where the conflicts are, and that kind of stuff. However, to come back to radio and peace, I would say that for us as UBC and our sister, I usually call them the Bazukulu, the other radio stations, because it was us who started first, and now the waves were liberalized. You find that radio plays a very critical role in trying to bring about peace. How does that happen? It is because it informs the people, it brings out the issues that the people are facing in their communities, and through debate and interaction, these people are made to come out with solutions, either from government or as society themselves, how they deal with certain issues. So radio is a very, very important tool, and I wanted to mention in particular one of our radio sister stations, that is Mega FM. You know, there was a lot of conflict in northern Uganda, and it costed a lot of people's lives. But those lives were being costed because there was misinformation. People were not getting the right thing from especially the government that was in power. They thought the government that was in power was up to finish all of them. It wanted to clear all people from northern Uganda. But with the formation of Mega FM and the programs that they were in, it helped for people who are in the bush to get some of these positive messages from government, and it is from that now we have peace in northern Uganda. So I want to say radio is very good for bringing about peace, but if it is used wrongly, it can breed a lot of conflict and problems.
Interesting. I must thank you, gentlemen, for the detailed introduction and also guiding us on the direction that we are taking, but also looking at how far we have come from, because if we don't know where we have come from, we do not know or appreciate where we have reached and where we are going. But you all mentioned that it has been a good element in bringing about peace, but we cannot talk about peace when we have not talked about conflict. I would love to know in which circumstances and that does radio bring about this conflict that we really need to use to bring about peace, because I believe that radio in conflict prevention and peace building is indeed key, because if you look at radio is an important player and essential as part of maintenance and transition of peace. But we also look at what are some of the causes and triggers of conflict before they potentially explode into violence through specific radio programs. So of course, I know some of you would have a different opinion on the same. Let me start with the regulator. What are some of the measures that you put to monitor this content before it triggers into conflict?
You know, in Uganda currently we have 327 radio stations that are broadcasting all at the same time, and as we're speaking now, there are political talk shows happening. So one of the mechanisms to monitor is, one, we have invested in technology where we're able to log what all broadcasters are airing and able to store that for a period of more than 90 days to enable us to analyze. However, like I mentioned, in Uganda we have over 300 radio stations and all of them on air at the same time. Therefore, one of the ways we monitor is rely on the public to inform us, public and other stakeholders, to inform us if there's a particular radio station that is going haywire. But even before we give a radio station a license, we try to emphasize and educate them and sensitize them on the minimum broadcasting standards. We tell them the importance of balancing. And my brother here, James, the chairperson of RUBA, will testify. Most of the conflict comes from not giving the other side of the story adequate time to air out their views. That is one. Two, the other cause of conflict is the habit or the virus that has caught up with Ugandans. We want to be the first to break the news without verifying the facts, without making sure that the facts are accurate. But also now there's a new disease that has cropped up. We Ugandans love to sensitize everything. And as we are sensitizing, we end up distorting the information and causing harm to the people that we are serving. Now, as UCC, we regularly carry out and conduct refresher courses in partnership with Media Council of Uganda to try and upgrade the skills of media practitioners. You know, in other countries, we don't have media practitioners, we have journalists. In Uganda, anyone can be a journalist. It is the only profession in Uganda which has no clearinghouse. Any media personality is easily confused as a journalist. Journalistic principles are different from media personality principles. In Uganda, it is where you find someone with a good voice, with no background training in media, presenting a radio show. And that person, when you don't come out to educate him on the do's and don'ts in media, he ends up promoting conflict when he's not even aware of what he's promoting. So as UCC, we have also realized that the training that these people receive in schools is different from the training that's needed in the field. That is further compounded when we try to localize the delivery of the content. What I speak in English will sound very different if I say it in Luganda, if I say it in Luchiga. We also have different cultures in Uganda. What passes in central Uganda may not pass in Karamoja. I usually use the example of nudity. In Uganda, nudity is below the waist. In Karamoja, nudity is above the waist. So when we realize that we have mixes of culture in Uganda, we have to be extra careful on when we are delivering the news. Another issue we have found as a source of conflict is that there is paid for journalism, where I pay people to bring down another person. And that is a disease that we all have to fight as stakeholders. It comes back to verifying and accurately delivering the right information. And another issue is, I think Ugandans, we have created an atmosphere there whereby we have a few experts in all fields. The same person is an expert in health, security, education, agriculture, entertainment, news, etc. Another source of conflict I think that the media stations need to look in is the remuneration and the pay of the media personalities that they employ. Some of them run to us and tell us, I haven't been paid for 6 months. And you tell him, why do you keep going back to the same job if you're not being paid? Some have been honest and they tell us that they get funding or revenue from other sources, and those other sources are the ones that end up promoting conflict. So in our experience, also some of the things we have learned, and as a commission we are working diligently with all concerned stakeholders to ensure that we reduce on these instances. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kagwa, and I'm glad that you really are taking into serious concern of these issues. But one would say those mechanisms you have to regulate even the local content. Ruba, you deal with the local content, which you know that the machines of Mr. Kagwas may not really be easy to detect. How are you able to feed the public with good information without bias or aiming at making money? And where does conflict come in when we talk about radio?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Surely, let me first add on what our regulator has said. You know, in Uganda, I was giving statistics. Out of the 327 stations he has mentioned, I'm bringing in why there is conflict. Around 26 stations, that is up country. When I talk of up country, remove just Kampala, then other areas. It is only 26 stations that are breaking even. You cannot believe this. Those ones who can break even, get money, pay workers, and remain there, maybe can make some profits. You can imagine the rest. The rest, actually, majority of them, every month they earn like 10 million. You can imagine. You can imagine somebody earning 10 million is employing people. That one brings in professionalism. Meaning you are not going to have a professional news editor, you're not going to have a professional programs head, you're not going to have a professional marketeer. Now what comes after? You'll have bad news, and professionally they will cause conflict, which will kill peace. You'll not have a good program person to produce good content. At the end of it, they will start bringing in the PR content. Somebody has given him some money, he's coming with that content which is promoting a certain politician, At the end of it, you cause conflict in the society, which will kill peace. In addition to that, other areas, there are some people who start stations with an intention of fighting others, especially politicians and religious leaders. Now, somebody starts a station. I was in Ipsoga some time back. I was moving around. And there was a radio seriously abusing people in air, causing a lot of conflict. You can imagine. So people start stations with different objectives. We are happy. You see, nowadays is really serious, but what majorly causes conflict is unprofessionalism, and in most cases, it comes out because stations sometimes they are very hard to manage. You can imagine on a monthly basis to manage a station. You are here, you can use around 40 million. Now, a station earning 5 to 10 million, how will it manage all this? But all in all, I think UCC has to work hard so that we can have, what that means is government giving more money to these people, over evaluating the person who is going to start the radio to know that he's going to manage the content and everything. I think to that one will help.
Okay, interesting. Roba is requesting money from government in order to produce good content. Afande.
Okay.
It's okay if Tumsimi have something to add on.
No, I wanted to give more information. Now, as rural area, because we are celebrating today radio and peace, and when you are celebrating something, you are celebrating your achievements. Now, I wanted to tell, actually the main objective why I'm here is to tell people the importance of the radios and how those radios can help to develop the country, and then people will have peace. First of all, from statistics here, I think the research was made by BBC, that is 2020, and they discovered that people in rural areas, 90.2 who listen to radios believe what people talk about, whether it is news or whatever they believe. You can imagine 90.2% of the people up country believe in the radio. So the government has put a lot of emphasis to know that these radios are so important. Then number two, these radios bring people together. You can imagine those days where there are no radios, what was happening. But nowadays, these people have their program, their issues. They come to radios, we give them platform, they discuss. At the end of it, peace comes in. And when peace comes in, of course, the government benefits. Actually, I thank these police people. For us up country, we use police to educate people about peace. So radio is important, should not be underrated. As they are budgeting, let them put a lot of money in radio. Because now these radios, education, they provide education opportunities to our people. They have different languages, and actually almost each district has a radio. Meaning it is the cheapest source of information, where the government, instead of putting money elsewhere, they should inject all that budget to make sure that our people get all what they want. There are so many. Like, for example, we work as watchdogs for public resources. Normally, we work with IGG to manage the corruption. We are the people who expose those people up country. You can imagine the role we are playing. So, as we are celebrating peace, let the government remember that the radio is the biggest tool in the development of Uganda.
All right. Interesting. Afande Donald, you heard from the private entity, those who are managing radios and owning radios, but it is a perception that they say they mind about money and they don't mind about the content that is out there. As Kagwa said, that someone can start a radio just to make someone fail as they prosper. But as a police body or force that is responsible for maintaining peace and coexistence of people, and also safeguarding that every property is safe, what do you do when such content is out to public through these radios?
Thank you, Amon. And my colleagues have put it clear, and they have given different roles of the radio, which visible, everybody. If you move to anybody's home, one thing that can't miss in that home is the radio. If you move to each district, new, old, small, big, at the border, you'll find a radio station. And I think there are two institutions, I may call them institutions, that are down to the last person, that is police and the radio. You will find the last district, small district, has a radio station, has an equivalent of a radio station, the ones they call Zindaro. But to have people get informed, there is nothing in this world that beats information. A senior colleague of mine wrote in his book and said that information is power and lack of it creates fear. When people are informed, when people are digging in the morning, when people are grazing cows and they are tuning into radio, like he has told you, they expect whatever passes on that radio to be perfect, to be the gospel truth. That means those preparing that information must be very careful. There's a time some serious human being in this country went on radio and said they've sold the entire oil. There's no more oil in Bunyoro. On radio. Another person said they've sold water of Lake Victoria. You can imagine that kind of confusion going to the people that trust and believe what comes out of the radio. Like they all said, the world has gone commercial. Schools are commercial. Politics are commercialized. Churches believe in money. Whether you are a saved person or a useful person or not, once you pay money in church, you become a serious human being, and they will invite you to give word of wisdom, even when you're a nuisance. But you have money. So business has spoiled the quality of what we get from the radio. Everyone that gets money wants to go into business of radio, wants to go into the business of informing, even when he has no facts. That has reduced the quality of what we get from the radio. If you listen to so many radios, I won't mention their names, you will continue turning and looking for sensible topics, sensible programs. The entire radio is full of sports. The entire is full of bulango. You never get educated. You hear somebody discussing security. The same person analyzes politics. The same person analyzes football. What kind of talent can somebody have to be an expert in all areas? Why do we go up to this level? You don't have enough workers. You don't have enough trained people. You can't invite people to come and analyze a situation, a particular situation. You want to analyze taxes, but you're green about taxes. You want to discuss budget. A country's budget is out, and some Ugandan, after sports, he starts on the budget that he doesn't understand. So whereas radios are good, they can equally be bad. The latest example is what happened in Kanu. A radio manager fighting with a worker. That's a live example of conflict on radio. Where we want to learn, where everybody is listening in, we hear somebody fighting over commission. In 2009, all of you were here and old enough to know what happened here. A certain radio in this town caused chaos, misinforming people in Kayunga, confusing people in Uganda. You allow dirty information to go through your radio. And if they had not switched off that radio, we all don't know what would have happened. So whereas radio is a tool to peace, like my colleague has put it, it's equally a deadly tool. Whoever wants to attack a country, whoever wants to take over a government will quickly want to sit in the radio and announce. Because like he has told you, we all believe what comes out of the radio. If you say the entire oil has been sold, why would we not believe it? So as police, we must monitor, and we have officers at his place at UCC. We have experts in the media. We have trained people there are new crimes, on cyber to monitor all this. Whereas we want evidence, we want feedback, we want information, we want intelligence, we want to respond depending on how the radio has informed us. But we are very careful on what comes out of these radios.
Interesting. The public broadcaster there is already a conflict and we would have to make peace as we celebrate Radio and Peace Day. Many Ugandans, or a few Ugandans, or some of the Ugandans believe that when you mention of UBC, you're talking about the pro-government institution, and you have not provided a fair platform to the members of opposition.
Yeah.
How true or false is that?
Thank you, Amon. As a national broadcaster, of course, there are standards and why the national broadcaster was put in place. As I told you, usually radio is supposed to be, for example, like us, the national broadcaster, we are supposed to be in the mouthpiece of the government. And the government has policies, has programs.
Not the people.
No, I'm saying all these things that we are doing is for the betterment of the people.
Okay.
As Afande was saying, whatever you put out there can actually be very controversial if you do not try to sieve what you are going to put out in the population. So as the national broadcaster, we have to ensure that whatever we put across is actually sieved and it is good for the society or the listener outside there. Now, the conflict you are saying that is brought about by our brothers in the opposition, because this is also actually catered for in our constitution. If we have a number of multi-party, if we're in a multi-party dispensation, which means we have a number of parties in Uganda. We have the FDC, there's NOP, there's DP, there's NRM, and all these parties have their own ideology. Now, as a national broadcaster, our role is to ensure that we give each of them a fair platform, okay? And this is provided for. As the good thing is that the regulators here, there was a time I think we used to give our brothers in the opposition to come and air out their views, but sometimes they do not surface. Why? Because they also have a bias. They think that because UBC is a national broadcaster, they may not give them a fair hearing, or they may not give them airtime, which is not true. Amon, you will attest to this. Whenever there is, for example, parliament going on, we relay it live here on UBC. And whether somebody is from the opposition who is presenting their views, or from NRM, or from any other party, is actually covered. So it may not be true that what our brothers are saying, that as a national broadcaster, we do not give them enough airtime. The other thing is that we cannot, you may request people to come. You called us here today, that's why our fund has come and my brothers have come. But if you had not invited us, or probably you may invite somebody and they don't come. So Amon, it becomes an issue where our brothers probably do not show up and come to put across their views. However, as a national broadcaster, we are open to everybody, but also we are very cognizant of the views that are put out across. If we see that something is going to be, will breed conflict instead of solving it, as Afande was saying, if somebody comes and wants to abuse the president, that the president is a thief, they have stolen the oil, those are things that, of course, the national broadcaster will not entertain. And because of that, sometimes we are called to be biased, or we do not give them a fair hearing.
Interesting. We are going to have a very short break, but before I go, I would love to talk about, because coming from that corner where we're saying that you, a person, would love to know the independence of radio or media houses in this country. Should radios really be independent? That Tumsime has started a radio station in Obshenyi and is free to do what he prefers to do, because this is his business. As I will start a shop, I know what I am supposed to take. The independence of radio. Mr. Kagwa, as a regulator, where does the independence of radio start and end? Because I believe it strengthens democracy and provides the foundation for sustainable peace. So what some of the standards, the jurisdiction, the independence, where does the independence of radio start and end?
Question. and
Yes.
I'm happy you have asked it.
Mm.
I think people confuse independence of the radio station with compliance with the law. In Uganda, we have very many stations with different backing. There are those that are religious. Okay. There are those that have directors that belong to a particular political party. There are those that belong to a community. Okay. So for us, it is not the ownership that is important. When I was mentioning earlier at the start of the program, I said as a commission, we have developed in consultation with other stakeholders, RUBA, NAB, Parliament, etc. We have come up with standards that everyone is expected to follow. When my brother Mike from UBC was saying we offer platforms, for us we are saying if it is a contender for public office, give all parties contending for that seat equitable airtime so that they put up across their points. Now, the difference here is if you're invited and you do not use the opportunity, who is to be blamed? That is one. Two, as UCC, the regulator, we do not tell you what kind of content to broadcast. Today, when you're thinking of this program, there was no input of UCC. You thought of a topic. You thought of people who would contribute to this topic. Okay? So for us, our role is to keep reminding people that any content you broadcast must comply with all the laws in Uganda, must be balanced, you must be accurate, it must be informative, educative, and entertaining. Okay? So I'm happy to note that my brother from UBC1 is saying we all have the same principles. We may disagree with James here from Ruba. Julius, but we do not use abusive language. No. I put my point across of where my point of disagreement, he puts his point of disagreement, the public becomes the judge. However, if I sit here and I start abusing him or other people that are not here to defend themselves, then the onus is on you, the moderator of the show, to turn me back into line and tell me we do not use abusive language. You are making allegations against this person. Please substantiate with evidence. Okay? Once we are able to do that, we are going to be able to promote the peace and reduce on the conflict. But if we ask people to keep getting away, like my Afande Donald said, someone comes and makes an allegation, all the oil was sold. That is his allegation, and it is not illegal. However, what is supposed to be your role as a moderator of the show is ask him, where is the evidence? Where is the evidence that all the oil was sold? Once we are able to prompt and ask these questions, these people will stop telling the blatant lies, because people come on radio and tell blatant lies. Now, what people do not realize, as UCC, after analyzing the content, we give these people what we call an annual compliance certificate, and we do not give it to you if your content is breaching the law, is breaching the standards. Now, all that happens behind the scenes. However, we also balance. If we find that you're going haywire or out of line, we have a range of sanctions that we take against you. My brother Donald here mentioned that some radio stations have been shut down. Others have been fined. Programs have been suspended. Errant producers and presenters have also been asked to leave the airwaves. But for us as regulators, the key point is we want to improve professionalism of the sector, that we are able to inform and educate the citizens professionally. Once all of us are doing it professionally, all these things of peace and conflict will be resolved amicably. So that is why it is important that we keep retraining both owners and presenters and media personalities. Because if I usually love to use this example. If you hosted me here on your radio stations every day, you host me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at the same time, and we discuss different topics. After a month, you get used to me, so you stop briefing me of the do's and don'ts and expectations. You believe I know. However, Afande Donald will tell you the biggest cause of conflict, I might come here when I'm just out of an argument and I'm edgy. And then a question you ask me, I'm going to speak not usually the way I am. So it is you, the presenters and the professional people who we give licenses to be able to gauge and make sure that all content that is broadcast, because that onus is on you. And some of the things we have put in place is these people have been the radio operators. We ask them to install pre-listening devices such that people are able to listen in and remove the offensive content before it is broadcast to the public. I usually give these examples. We don't see people fighting on CNN. Do you know the reason why? To us, we see it as live, but it is delayed by a portion of time such that they're able to go into adverts or switch programs to ensure that the public is adequately protected from offensive content. We have introduced those standards to all radio stations and TV stations in Uganda, and we're enforcing. However, this takes time and mindset change and continuous training for us to achieve the professionalism we want. So the independence of the media, the ownership, it is independent. However, we give you a license that ensures that irrespective of ownership and independence, you're playing within the rules, you're following the laws, and you're following the standards. Thank you, Amber.
Interesting. We're going for a very short break, and when I come, we're going to be discussing about technology, because technology is something that is really taking radio a bit forward and also undermining the influence of radio. And we're going to be having a very good conversation on the role of media in politics, the role of radio in health, and we're looking at some of the effects that radio can cause in order to have a very peaceful celebration of on 13th Feb 2023. This is UBC Ground Zero, and we're coming back. Make sure you, in case you want to be part of the conversation in the next hour, when we come back, we're going to be receiving some of your calls on some 776-511-426, or you can send your messages on 0701 24 26 47. I've seen some of them, but you can keep them coming through, and we're going to be reading one by one.
This is Ground Zero Season 2. Stay tuned. We shall be right back. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
This is UBC Radio. Tune in for news.
At UBC Radio, we bring you Uganda's latest news and information.
Focus on Parliament.
What we need to do, the Prime Minister must give us the position before we finalize with the budgeting process.
Enjoy sports. The environment. Politics.
The mission we have is socio-economic transformation.
Health. Entertainment. Updates in education. On the farm. Keep tuned into UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Your favorite national, accurate, balanced, concise and comprehensive newscast. News Hour at 1 p.m. from Monday to Friday, right here on UBC Radios. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
it's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues.
Welcome back from that very short break. This is UBC Ground Zero. We're broadcasting live on 4 radio stations. We are live on UBC Radio, covering entire Uganda, border to border, city to city on 98 FM. And we're also live on 97.4 FM in Arua. We're 99.4 FM in Lira. We're also connected live to another radio station called the UBC Butebo. You can get us on 96.9 FM in Mbade, 98.4 FM in Soroti, and 95.5 FM in Arua. We're also live on West Nile FM on 98 FM if you are in West Nile, if you're in Karamoja, if you're in Teso sub-region, Lango and Chori. We are live on West Nile. And we're also live and clear on Magic 100 FM in case you're in the central parts of this country. And we're also streaming live on YouTube. You just enter UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of this very conversation. 776-51426. 0776-511-426 is the number that you will call and share your opinions on how best we can promote peace using radio and how best we can live peacefully with one another without creating any violence or conflict, or what needs to be done in Uganda to make sure that all our media houses, especially radio, is well streamlined and well regulated to ensure that what we give and what we feed the public is really right. In the studios of UBC, it's a very big privilege and honor that we have Medi Kagwa. Is the head of multimedia and content coming from from UCC, Uganda Communications Commission. And we also have a senior superintendent of police. Donald Muhezi is coming from Community Policing Department, Uganda Police Force. We also have Bakira Fupa. Michael is coming from Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. And Julius Tumsime is the chairman of Rural Broadcasters Association. Ampaire Aman Otega is my name. Let me get some of your calls and know what you're discussing. UBC Ground Zero. I've lost a caller. 776-511-426 is the number you can call and share your views, what needs to be done, especially on the side of the regulator, side of police, side of rural broadcasters, side of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. UBC, you're most welcome to UBC Ground Zero.
Thank you.
Yes.
In Uganda, we shall remain the way we are. And we shall be good at giving examples from other countries.
May you increase your volume, sir?
Yes, please. Am I audible enough now?
Yes.
Thank you. I was trying to say in Uganda, we shall be the way we are, and we will never learn, and yet we are good at giving examples from other countries. Radio is one of the fundamental sources which can link the public as far as information is concerned. And who are those specialists, who are those experts who can link radio to the public? Let's go via political rallies. Campaign is on progress. Who is to inform? Who is to take information to the public? I see it in a bad way when our journalists are being beaten in areas of chaos where commotion just rises between two parties who are disagreeing on who to elect. Then you'll find a journalist who is not a partisan person, who has no party, who has no side to support. A journalist is someone who is in neutral. They are capturing information. They are going to give it to other citizens who have no access to information. You'll find that others are getting stray bullets. Others are sort of tear gas. Now, Afande, is good you are there in the studio. You have to address this issue. We don't feel okay when our journalists are being beaten, and yet they are non-participants in what's taking place via political. Then too, I have again to congratulate the government of Uganda. They have done good. From those days, FM was not there. We are using AM and the medium wave. The best example is where you are sitting, where we are picking this from, that UBC. There we applaud you so much. Me, I'm 38 years old now. I became so concerned about UBC because of my parents. When you are going to raise a channel to connect to UBC, you have to make sure you get a tall pole, you connect to wire as to work as an antenna, such that from Nebi you can capture a medium wave from Kampala here, UBC. But today, just a phone, you can also just put a you will hear. As now, I'm enjoying the show because I'm using just a phone. So there you have scored points. So for us, me as Juma, please, Apande, you address the discipline of the forces or security personnel towards journalists. Then we shall see there will be no issues of someone like who can give us information as being brutalized.
All
and
right.
as being, his cameras are being destroyed. How do you feel?
All right. Your last on that, sir?
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you, Juma, and greetings to the people of Busega. We are glad that you are listening in. 776-511-426 is the number that you can call and be part of the conversation, but also share your opinions on what you think needs to be done to promote peace using radio. Someone from Boyogerere. Boyogerere didn't put your name, but you are saying that UCC regulates only radio stations that did not attack government. I wish you put the name and which some of those ones you mentioned. We thank the rural broadcasters. It's my first time to know that they are also there. I thought all radios, all broadcasters are under NAB. All right. All right. Keep your messages coming through and call on 776-511-426. UBC.
Hello, UBC.
You're live and clear, sir. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Yes, good morning, sir.
A very good morning to you.
This is Mdaga Martin calling from Bali.
All right.
Yeah, me, my comment, I'm so grateful to hear you there presenting, and I congratulate UBC. Since my childhood, I've been listening to that station. That is a mother station to all stations in Uganda. But there are some stations that you give licenses, but then they don't know what they are supposed to do. What they are after is to only make money. They are just money makers. They don't know that we, the listeners who are there, there are very many important things that we learn from such a station. So please, when you are licensing them, please try to assess those people thoroughly, so that you really, they really come up with what they mean by opening up the stations, radio stations.
All right.
We have very many radio stations in Bali here, that are so much obscene. But I wonder how these such radios are given licenses.
All right.
I wish you a good presentation.
Thank you, Martin.
May God bless you.
Oh, God bless you too. God bless you too. We are so glad that you're also listening in from Bali, and all those people who are in Bali, Soroti, Jinja. We love you so much as UBC and as UBC Ground Zero. 776-511-426. UBC.
Yes, good morning.
A very good morning to you. You're live and clear. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Yeah, this is Martin from Muyanga.
Glad that you're listening in.
Yeah, I'm listening very well.
How can we promote peace with the radio?
Yes, I'm coming. So the problem, I'm not educated very well. I think you can pick my English and then you correct it from there very well.
It's okay, sir.
Yes. So on my side, I thank this radio to be with us all people in Uganda or in UBC.
All right.
So this radio can teach us very well. If the UBC was not there, this FM UBC, I think we shall not even hear other words from what? From our government here in Uganda. So I think it's the first radio here in Uganda. On my point, on my side, to direct to the Afande, which is there. Afande, actually, you help us also, according to security. So you find the policeman, the what is drunk when he's going to the duty. If when you try to say that, and if he calls you just direct to slap you. So those kinds of things, I think you will correct it.
All right.
And the last point, sir.
Okay.
Then, Afande, try to remember us also people, which they are called that veterans. Veterans were crying too much. They can give you open the account, you open, you wait, and you wait, and you wait up to today. Others that have finished, I don't know how many years, 15 or 20, without receiving any pension, without receiving any what. But already the account is there. We make that complaint, but no one is forwarding that complaint, sir.
All right. You, thank you, Martin, and greetings to the people of Mayenga. We are glad that you're tuning in, and this is UBC Ground Zero. All right. Serious issues being raised by the people of Uganda, and I think this is the importance of radio, that people with different issues can be addressed on radio in order to have peace with themselves. UBC? 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 You're live and clear.
Yes.
Your name and where you calling us from?
I'm Samari from Yumbe.
Yumbe?
Yes.
Your concern, sir?
So, radio, I want to thank the government of Uganda
okay.
for bringing us with these radios. You see, in Uganda, people are having some problem. It is any issue in Uganda, people are fearing. They don't have a good relationship with the security officers. So I'm requesting Afande to come, let them be continuously coming to the radio and teach people about their relationship with the people so that they put our country in a good format.
Okay, your name again, sir?
Samari from Yumbe.
Samari from Yumbe. All right, yes. Thank you for your concerns.
All right.
All right. Time is not really on our side. I'm going to get a few callers, only one. Then we go back to the studio. If time allows, we are going to give you more time. UBC.
Hello.
You're live and clear. Your name, where you're calling us from, and your concerns, sir.
This is Bethel from Lira. I'm a little bit sorry for hijacking the program. My concern is just the UBC technical. It has some technical issues. The way it is now, like 5 months, it makes a lot of sound normally.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir, for that concern. We promised to work on it. This is the good thing with radio. You connect to different people in different corners of the country and you are able to address issues there and then. The last one on this, UBC.
Yes, good morning.
A very good morning to you.
This is Joshua calling from
Bukoto, alright.
Hello?
You're live and clear, sir.
Yeah. For me, my question is to the UCC. Well, I remember in the station.
Your network is not that clear. Maybe you can call us right again.
Sorry.
Alright, you are now clear. Hello? We lost the caller. You can call us again. UBC? 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 Let me pause the callers for now. If time allows, we're going to give you more time to call. Allow me to get back to the studios and then we address some of the issues. Let me start with UCC. You have had the people of Uganda raising pertinent issues. What concerns them, they have indeed a lot that you need to address as UCC in order to promote peace and to have peace with the people of Uganda, as we tend to celebrate radio and peace on 13th Feb. Medikagwa.
You Amon? I'm happy to note that all of us agree that radio is a very vital and fundamental source of information. And it is important to link it to the listeners all over Uganda, such that they get the right information and useful information. Many concerns have been given, and there is a perception that we only regulate stations that attack government. We regulate all stations in Uganda and we license them, not only those that attack government. I've also noted the concern from the caller from Bale that most of the stations are broadcasting obscene content. Yes, we are going to look into it and analyze the content of these stations. However, I urge all listeners, if you are not happy with the service of any licensed radio station in Uganda, you can complain directly to the Commission through the different platforms available. We have a toll-free number. It is 0800 222 777. I'll repeat that number again. It is 0800 222 777. That number is toll-free, and we're able to get back to you to give you information. Or you could send us an email at ucc@ucc.co.ug, or you could visit any of our regional offices. We have offices in Bale, offices in Barara, offices in Gulu, and offices in Masindi. Please, we also have presence on social media, Twitter, blogs, and YouTube. Please, we are here to serve you. If you believe that any service provider, any radio service provider is not offering you services to your satisfaction, it is your constitutional right to complain, and we are going to look into those complaints. There was an issue that journalists are being beaten when they are just covering news. I would want to inform our listeners, as UCC, we sat down with stakeholders, the radio stations, security, and the journalists, and we agreed on standards when they are going to cover such events. We require them to be properly identified. We require them to be non-partisan, such that they are able to get the adequate protection from our security forces. However, through experience, we have also seen that the same journalists we want to protect are actually now attacking security officers. And they want to, because they have a tag that says journalist, if a police officer tells you, please, this is a crime scene, do not go beyond this line. Let us respect, because they are the people mandated to provide security not only to us as journalists, but to the general public. If they tell you, according to our security evaluation, we want you to behave in this particular way, let us listen to them to avoid confrontation. We have seen pictures on TV where the journalists are taking on security forces and stopping them from doing their duly official work. So all parties have to do their roles. Even security has to look into their errant officers that go haywire and attack journalists. But all of us may not be angels that we portray ourselves to be. But what I'm happy to tell the listeners is that we have come up with guidelines and standards that have been agreed upon by stakeholders, radio station owners, journalist representatives, security, of how we can cover and where all of us are able to professionally do our job. It's not going to be good where we allow only journalists to do their job, but we fail the police and the security forces from performing their duties and their tasks. Let us respect each other's boundaries. If the security tells you, please do not go beyond this point, or please stand in this particular format, let us listen to them to see how much we can accommodate. Let us obey the orders if they are lawful orders.
All right.
I thank you.
Most welcome, Tumsime, on the issues of the people of Uganda that brought across in this program.
Thank you very much. Let me talk about, I'm going to talk about the independence here. To be sincere, for the last 6 years, at least there is a big change. There is a big change. At least we should no longer have those intimidations like what we used to have. Yeah, I want to thank UCC for this.
Intimidations from which side?
Especially to journalists. Okay, there are few people, but the way those journalists that are beaten, those who beat the journalists, especially up country, these are the government officials that do wrong and they don't want to be exposed. So when the journalists are trying to expose what they have done, they end up sometimes colluding with police to beat. But really, there is a very big change. Now, what I wanted to talk about independence. Nowadays, UCC has really given us, as rural broadcasters, some authority to help them, like to be a watchdog. They have offices everywhere. They monitor everybody. So I think that one has also controlled the content. It has controlled the content. They no longer put, when you read the wrong news, they automatically record you and follow you up. There I have to thank UCC for that. And they have also organized workshops. We normally have workshops. Actually, we are going to have workshops at the beginning of the year, then mid and the end of the year, to train those journalists that never went to school to know what they are supposed to be doing. Actually, they have put even a condition: to be a news reader, you must have a degree in mass communication. Actually, they are doing it with Uganda Media Center here up. Media Center? Media Council up here. So yeah, they are doing something good to bring back professionalism in the media. I think that is what I can add. Maybe to add more on the other one who was asking about that he didn't know that Ruba is there. Ruba is there. We have representatives all over. I will also follow up through my boss of UCC that Imbale issue. We also monitor and give the information to find out.
I was also going to ask you, are you not concerned about that issue?
No, I'm going to follow up seriously.
Okay.
We have a full representative there. We shall have a report. And we also we submit it to UCC, because for us we don't punish, we just give the reports. But otherwise, to be sincere, up country as far as peace is concerned is a big improvement. Apart from those few other DC, few whatever who do bad things and intimidate our journalists.
I'm going to come back about the free airtime that you give to government, but people have serious concern on that. It has been a bit misused. Afande, you have heard from the people of Uganda, some appreciating your your services, but also others have serious concerns with what service you give to the public. What is your response on their issues?
Thank you, Amon, and the callers. I am happy that most people in the greater northern Uganda listen to this radio. I have friends and relatives in northern Uganda who have informed me that they are listening in. The concerns of the people about journalists, our colleague from UCC has guided us that there is a huge difference between being a journalist and a media personality. And most of our Uganda's journalists are actually not journalists. That aside, any Ugandan, any serious police officer listening to this radio must accept that the journalism, the media is now part and parcel of this government. It's a force state. It's a very important arm that is both visible and underground. You cannot develop without media. You cannot do your work, including police work. You see how we call them every Monday to brief the country, to inform the country on what is happening. You cannot do business, these ones in private. You can't do oil. You must accept that media is part of us, and they must be respected. That aside, we all know the reality and the ideal. Every day we see politicians coming out of radio stations to become our current MPs. So these people use microphones, these people use radios to advance their political ambitions. I can mention a number of them in the current parliament, in other political setups at the district and local government, where former journalists have become serious politicians. So there's a lot of politicking behind the mic. There's a lot of politicking in the radio stations. There's a lot of money making in tarnishing people's names, in tarnishing companies' names, using what should be used to inform and educate people. You have a good story, but I won't publish it because you have not given me money. I have allegations and what people now call painting on somebody. If you don't give me money, I have received this dossier, I will put it on media. There's a lot of unprofessionalism on radio stations. I am happy that I am here, and I want to put my complaint to the radio stations. Make sure that you invite people for specific topics, and make sure that the moderators are good in that lane. There is no way you can have one moderator handling agriculture show, political show, economics, music, sports. Who are you? What kind of a person are you to have knowledge in all those areas and you are able to analyze? It kills the message. Every time we come to the station, depending on the situation in the country, you have accidents, you have terrorism, and you are invited to sensitize the community about terrorism. You invite me with a politician. You invite me with somebody who is having political agenda. I give one piece of information, he gives the opposite of it. What do you want the listener to take? You as the radio moderator or the owner of the radio. I am telling people to check people as they enter their bars. I am telling people to be sensitive. And another human being says, police yafad. There is nothing in this police. It is for NRM. Whether it is for NRM or not, crime. Security has nothing to do with religion, tribe, or party. So if you want to have a political show, you invite opposition, NUP, NRM, FDC, let them exchange. But if it is educative topic, if it is about education, and you invited the commissioner in education to sensitize people, don't involve, if it is a usual political show, don't call people who are going to oppose and put and water down his message. Ask the listeners, because I listen a lot of radios. I'm in my car, in my office, at home. I end up getting confused. What should I take? Should I get the number of the area OC and I inform him when they attack me? Or police is dead, I should not get that number? So stop confusing the listeners. Back to my colleagues. he has put it clear. If you're a journalist, you're a journalist. Put on your jacket, have your camera, have your gadgets, and be advised. For example, when we had the bomb threat and the attacks in at the CPS, you have a scene which must be secured. There is another bomb which is likely to come out, and the media personality wants to give news. He wants to break news. He wants to take photos. He wants to relay information back to his radio. And I have a duty to protect people, including the same journalists. Sometimes you beat people for their security. Sometimes you tear gas people to make them safe. Our Inspector General said it and people got him wrongly. We beat you to secure you. There is a scene, you don't know what will happen after. Normally when one bomb goes off, another one is there. But a journalist wants to take photos of fragments. He wants to see how many people are injured. He wants to interview those who have survived. There's an accident of 30 people. There's a global bus. We are blocking other cars, and the journalist wants to interview the survivors. He wants to interview the traffic office. Are you really not interfering in our work? There are other cars moving. There is jam. But you also, it's your job. I can understand. You want to take back news. You want to break the news. You want to be the first to inform the public about this accident on Massacre Road. But I have a duty to protect other people, including you. So sometimes we have no option but to beat you to save your life. I want to use this same time to warn the police officers. We are consumers of the news. We are consumers of what comes out of the radio. I normally tell them to buy radios. I normally tell them to have time and listen to news, to inform themselves, to keep themselves up to date. Therefore, this journalist you're pushing away, this journalist you're not handling well, is the same journalist that is going to inform you. It's the same journalist that will tell you what is happening, where you're going to guard. So you must have mutual respect in this work.
Thank you, Afande. ABC?
Yeah, thank you, Amon, and thanks my colleagues. I think they have ably answered most of the concerns that were raised by our callers, but I just wanted to address myself specifically to one of the brother who called from Lira. He was kind of putting across that our services or our signal is not clear. We are going to bring this to the attention of our engineering department, and I think in the nearest time possible that issue will be dealt with. We want you to hear or to get the information as it is, so that we develop peace and therefore make our country a peaceful place to stay, and therefore spur development. I also wanted to add on a bit on the side of this brother from Bale. Probably I would request our regulator to continue to monitor, because we have some of our colleagues in the industry who keep on actually bringing or putting out content which is not right. And I've seen, because of the development in technology, cybercrime is also skyrocketing, where people are being duped. For example, on the side of employment, some people put out messages that people are going to be employed. They have employment outside there, but when people get to these places, there is nothing, but they end up being duped or taken. They take a little of their money that they have taken across. I've also seen, people who put messages across there that are actually to con people of their hard cash. They have nothing to do with education. They have nothing to do with actually making their lives better. So I would request Afande and our regulator, and of course all of us, to continue educating our people and informing them of their rights, what is right and what's not right, what they're supposed to do, so that actually they benefit from radio, and of course promote the peace that is to be brought about by radio. And as UBC, we commit ourselves to that. and we will continue to do our job.
Oh, interesting. Thank you for really taking on some of the concerns of the people of Uganda, because we're here for them and they're there for us. And our time is not really on our side. Let me start. Let me get one caller. UBC,
Mr. Amon,
you're live.
allow me to thank Afande. Afande has made a brilliant answer today, and I appreciate Afande. I'm Juma from Busega. Your answer is genuine, and it has cut across supporting all the wananchi and the security personnel and the journalists as well. I thank you for being loud and clear, and I give you much credit. Thank you so much.
All right. Oh, the people still raising their issues and appreciating. My time is not really on my side. You're last on this.
Hello.
You're live and clear.
Yes, you're speaking with Oboho Rogers.
Calling from where?
I'm calling from Lira City.
All right. Your concern?
Yeah, my concern, I've heard everything Afande said. But what Afande should know is that personally I'm a trained journalist. So in journalism, they say what is required is continuous research. So to say that a moderator shouldn't, one moderator shouldn't moderate politics, what depends upon the curiosity of of that moderator in research. Because in journalism, that's why in journalism there is economics. To give a journalist, a person doing journalism, to let him or her know that it's not only about talking. You must know economics. There is entrepreneurship. There is media law. There is political science.
All right.
So it depends upon the curiosity. Right. And the problem goes back to them, because right now 80% of the people who are in the media industry, they are non-professionals.
All right. You're last on that, sir?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for being part of UBC Ground Zero today.
Thank you.
Medicagua, advancement of technology, live streaming, the desire to break the news, to be the first, the online radio, the social media seem to be undermining the mainstream media and phasing out radio, which we are celebrating today. But how are you able to regulate the social media, the online radios, which have no studios in case there is bad content that go through them, as a regulator?
Thank you, Amon, for this interesting question. You know, most people look at regulation as an extended arm of the police. Regulation is not about policing only. Regulation also means facilitating the involvement of communication services. I'm happy to note that almost all radio stations, whether upcountry, whether uptown, rural or urban, all of them now have online presence. And what you cannot say on air now, you should not also be able to say online. When you say how do you regulate, when we receive complaints about offensive content, some of these are the mechanisms available to us as a commission.
But these online radios, they have no studios. Someone is home and thinks of going online. He just needs his phone or any other gadget like a computer, and he starts spreading information, whether good or bad.
Yes, and I was coming to that. One, the government of Uganda blocked Facebook. People accessed Facebook through VPN. Okay, that is one example. The trend now is people are doing Twitter Spaces. Okay, now, do we block advancement in technology just because we fear the offense that is happening? Because my brother Julius is going to share the same unlicensed mediums, like we have mentioned, are also competing for advertising with them. It is also another issue. Okay, now there are two options. Either we can grow as we learn how to regulate that technology, because these are the ingredients when these are operating. One, the company is not domiciled here. Someone might be in a different jurisdiction, but we can block. Now, when we shut down the whole platform, let's say we block access to Twitter, we are blocking access to a communication services platform. And yet the instances of the people that are propagating offensive content are minimal. So what we have been doing is, one, we are doing public sensitization so that everyone knows when you're doing this kind of content, these are the standards that are expected of you. When we receive complaints about those platforms, whether online or individual channels, we work with our police, Uganda Police Force, to investigate and bring those perpetrators to book. Many people have been charged in courts of law for breaking different components of the law. And my brother Afande Donald shared that there is now a media crimes unit and a cyber crimes unit at Uganda Police Force.
Okay.
So as UCC, people, that's why I said earlier that there's a difference between facilitating development in technology and policing technology. So for the very few incidents where these people are doing offensive content, we work closely with the Uganda Police Force to prosecute them.
All right.
Thank you.
Our time is not really on our side. Allow me, gentlemen, get your concluding remarks or last comments as we end our discussion. Let me start with Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Awan. You had asked about the free airtime. I can briefly give a background. In 2014, by that time, Honorable Namayanja introduced a policy that every radio in Uganda should give free airtime to government. Like every week, 1 hour airtime, 1 hour talk show, moreover in prime time. Then plus promotional ads. Now, when you calculate at the end of it, every week, we found out that a station was losing like 2 million every week. Now, it was not a bad policy, because really, when you start a radio, it is a public thing. So it was actually welcome. But
so you had that conflict and would have to make peace as we celebrate.
Now what happened? It was totally abused by people locally down there. The RDCs, some government officials, they would get money from government to go and buy airtime on radio station. So what they do, even presently, what they do, they get that money and eat it. I have facts. If you want to ask me, I have facts. Eat it. Then use that free airtime, meaning a station will lose a lot of money. Actually, by the time we went Parliament opposite, we found out that a station was losing 20% of the income, because we are no longer getting business from the districts. But when we put pressure, we start with our regulator, we agreed that let free airtime be specifically for urgent issues. For example, like the president's address, even when there is a security issue, we call police, and should be on call for us, we call them to come. Because really we have been giving them, if they are found, they can testify. We really give free airtime.
Your last on that, sir?
Now, let me give my conclusive remark. I want to thank UBIS for inviting us to come and discuss these important issues. And I want to appeal to Uganda Communications Commission, our regulator, to help those up-country media stations. I have told you, majority earn less than 10 million. What do you expect? All those problems that create conflict and peace come because of unprofessionalism. Radio stations have no money to employ a graduate. That's why they employ the relatives. There are stations that are manned by the extreme presenters. How do you expect that radio to bring out good information? Mr. Maybe through even UCC, sorry, through UBC, I know the president listened to UBC. Let them have a budget At least they know every year this money goes to the radio station. They go and buy the necessary equipments. They empower. It's good that UCC is training, doing everything, but they also don't have enough budget.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Most welcome, sir. Fopa?
Thank you so much, Chairman, and thanks for the comments from the panelists. I would say that as UBC, we are privileged and actually very grateful for this show. Of course, basing on the theme radio and peace, I think radio takes a center stage in all that we do, and radio can actually promote peace because radio provides the voice for the voiceless. That's why you've seen that we've almost, from all the corners of Uganda, we've been able to get callers. They have put across issues that are bringing conflict, and they have been addressed. So I want to thank UBC management, and also to thank our regulator, Afande, and my brother, who is the chairperson for the private radio stations, for coming, that we can share these ideas. Sometimes people look at UBC as a rivalry kind of station. Mm-hmm. For us, we are not competing with anybody, we are not fighting with anybody, but what we need is, can we come together and share views? So if my brother in the private sector, next time probably they invite us, we will also be glad to participate wherever possible. So we invite them next time and every other time, so that we can build our country. Thank you so much, Chairman.
Most welcome, Fande Donald.
And my colleagues in the studio, we have all agreed that radio is a very big stakeholder in peace in this country. And as we all know, peace is not an end in itself. It's a means to development. We would have been, shattered when COVID came. Nobody was sensitizing the community live. No school was operating. No church was allowed to do their business. We did all what we used to do through radios. Ebola is a huge beneficiary of this radio. Government programs, government adverts, government advice went through radio, and we were able to combat and protect our people through radios. What we want to ask the radio owners, the moderators, and those who sit behind the mic to inform us is to know that a radio is like a gun. Once misused, it will turn peace into conflict. We have to be very careful the content we give to the community. They will take it as gospel truth. While we want to help the community, while we want to expose the leaders, while we want people to know what is at the airport, can we have a security conscience? Can we have Uganda first at heart? Yes, you're exposing the airport staff. Yes, you're exposing corruption. Thank you. But do you know the impact it will have on the business and the image of this country? You can't have that if you have no professional people in your radio or in the media practitioning. So we must have the best people. Technology has come. People are moving away. People are not at home. So they need mobile things. We must agree to be flexible. Change to phones, change to stream live, change to things that are coming. So that the young generation does not leave the handset, does not leave the radio, and they focus on TVs and upcoming things. Change your program to fit the current situation. Have the current music, have the old music, so that you have us all sorted at once. Thank you very much. Thank you for the airtime. As police, we are happy with the radio. Every Monday you come. You're part of us. You are partners. You are big stakeholders, and we respect you. Thank you.
Most welcome, Afande. Our time is ready. Not on our side. Ahmed Kagwa, you give us your last comment on that.
Thank you, Abba. Radio and peace. My last words are this: let us work as all stakeholders to be professional in everything we do. And to the listeners, you have a right to complain about the services, the quality of services, if they are not meeting your standard, you have a right to complain about any content that goes through a radio station that you're not pleased with. It is within your right to make sure that these stations, it is important that you give feedback in terms of how they can serve you better, so that you, the listeners, and the general public are informed, are educated, and entertained. But most importantly, let's work together to maintain the peace and reduce on the conflict. I thank you.
Most welcome. This brings us to the end of our discussion. I wish time allowed we could even extend to another hour or even more. One, thank you, gentlemen, for sparing time to share your views with us and to educate, inspire, and inform the people of Uganda. In the studios of UBC, we had Senior Superintendent of Police, Donald Mhwezi, coming from Uganda Police Force and the Department of Community Policing. We had Julius Tumsime, the Chairman, Rural Broadcasters Association, Medi Kagwa, Head Multimedia and Content Uganda Communication Commission, and Bakira Fupa Michael coming from Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. Thank you for really doing this great job to educate the people of Uganda. And radio remains the unique form of mass media because it has the potential to reach everyone. We keep celebrating the radio, and on 13th February we celebrate the World Radio Day as put by UNESCO. And we must thank all the stakeholders that have really made it possible to really give the information and able to open or establish different radio stations, both in private and government. I must thank you, UBC, with the 11 radio stations in the country and also the private sector. I must thank police for the good job they're doing, and the UCC for regulating all these radio stations to make sure that the people of Uganda are fed with good information. And I also want to thank United Nations for establishing radio networks in conflict-affected areas around the world to ensure that the local population have access to credible, trustworthy information, and such radio stations that I recommend in the region, including Radio Milaya in South Sudan, Radio Okapi in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Guiria FM in Central African Republic, Radio Mikado in Mali, and similar radio stations that really existed within the previous peacekeeping missions as part of Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. And we're glad that also it has extended to Africa. UBC, we keep inspiring and informing the people of Uganda. I want to also thank everyone who was listening in to this very important program, those who are on radio and those who are online. And I also want to really extend my glad, heartfelt appreciation to all you who were able to share your views and raise your concerns by calling us, and those who really sent your messages. You can keep the conversation go on our social media channels. We remain UBC, and we remain here to inspire you, the people of Uganda. So much is coming your way on Magic FM and Butebo FM and Western Nile FM, and here in UBC Red, George Ngobi is coming in your way with On the Journey. Paide Amon Otega is my name. I'll keep inspiring the people of Uganda. For God and my country, allow me now to sign out.
That was Ground Zero Season 2, a production of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, inspiring Uganda. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcast.